Hello, darlings, and welcome to Wake Up and Show Up Live. I am your host, Portia Scott. This is your daily show, giving you a daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. It is Friday. How are you guys doing this Friday? Val, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys so much for joining. Come in, share. I'm so glad to see you guys. It is Friday. I am excited about it being Friday. It's not like I have anywhere special to go, but I do get the opportunity to breathe, right? No homework, kind of taking some time off during the weekend. Good afternoon, darling. How are you? So one of the things I love to know is, where are you watching from? Where are you staying at home at? We hope that you are staying at home if you can. As always, our workers, our essential workers that are out there on the front lines, we pray for you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And so we are staying home because you don't get that opportunity. And in order to flatten this curve, we're going to stay home. So where are you guys watching from? Where are you watching the show at and staying at home at? And so it's Friday. So let me know, where are you watching from? As always, if you want to be alerted when the show is going live, did you get your text? Did you get your text this afternoon? You should have gotten your text at 11:45 to let you know that we were going live in 5 minutes, 15 minutes. So if you want to stay in the know, we send encouragement, inspiration. We let you know when a show is going live and when we've released a podcast episode. So you text the word wake up or text the phrase wake up to 31996. That's text the phrase wake up to 31996 so that you can be in the know. So I see, thanks, babe. My husband is joining. John Henry, mommy, you've joined. Ayana, thank you so much, darling, for joining. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I am super excited and super pumped about this particular episode. As you guys know, we created this particular show off of the Wake Up and Show Up podcast. And so I want you guys to go and listen to the podcast. If you listen to it, rate it, review it, all of that good stuff. But that's where this show was created. It was created off of my podcast to kind of bring it live. And I promise you get on the podcast is different than the stuff you get in the live. It's all about living intentionally and showing up in your life, but the content is different. So one of the things that I love to do here, we love to show acts of kindness. And the way that we've been doing that over the last couple of weeks is we've been partnering with other organizations. But this week, and for the last couple of weeks, what I've said is I want you to do a random act of kindness. Yeah. I don't want you to send, not that I don't want you to, but in addition to, what I want you to do is do the acts of kindness where you're going to touch somebody you know. So whether that's a text message, a Marco Polo, a call, an email, a DM, whatever it is, I want to make sure that you are doing your acts of kindness. Send a Cash App because we all like to hear that Cash App go off. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining, darling. We love to have you here. One of the things I'm going to ask is share. So those are our acts of kindness. And lastly, before we get into the content, what are you grateful for? What are you guys grateful for? We always love to say, what are you grateful for? Because we can always find a glimmer of hope in everything. Plus, when we have gratitude, it shifts our perspective. So what are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for today? I will tell you guys this. I am so grateful for the opportunities that I get to show up in this organization, in this community. I'm so excited about it. You guys strengthen me when you don't know it, and I think that that's the important thing about community is that you strengthen one another. And so I'm so excited. Time I get to come on, I get to see you guys, and I appreciate it. So yes, we are super excited. Let's get into the content because that's what you guys came for. So one of the things I want to do, you guys know I love a good story. And so I want to tell you guys a very quick story, but and it's one of just murder. It's one of mystery, but it's one of promise. And so I want to tell you guys this story because we're going to talk about what is looking for me. You said the promise was looking for me, girl. What is that promise? Let me tell you what the promise is. So it's this story, and it's two guys, and they're extremely, extremely, extremely good friends. And what happens is that one of the guys, his father, gets jealous of the other friend. And so he gets jealous of the other friend and he tries to kill the other friend. Could you imagine? So let's just say that it's John and it's I don't know, John and Ken, and they're friends. And John's father gets jealous of Ken. And so he wants to kill Ken. But John says, nah, that's my homie. I love him. And so I'm going to help him escape this. So he gives him like what's going to happen, gives him the real deal. He is like the CIA for Ken. And so they're friends and life goes on, and they always remain that friendship. They always have that friendship. They always have that brotherhood. And along the story, unfortunately, John and his father get killed. And so when John and his father gets killed, John has a son. And so John's son has a nurse. And when he was 5 years old, after the father and Ken get killed, the nurse grabs the baby and she's fleeing for their lives. And in the midst of her fleeing for their lives, she drops the baby. She drops him. And when she drops him, he is now crippled. He's now disabled. Something that happened that it wasn't malice, it wasn't anything. It just so happened that in life, every now and then, you get.
I'm sorry. Can someone other than John and his father get killed? Thank you.
My husband, his name is John. I had to. So anyway, the baby gets dropped. And when the baby gets dropped, he's disabled. And it was no fault of the baby or anything like that. And the nurse, I could only imagine how she felt. She was actually trying to save the baby and she drops him. And so years pass and we kind of don't really hear much about the baby. We don't really hear much about her dropping him or what happens. And so what happens is Ken goes on to live this amazing life, and he actually becomes rich and he has power and he has influence. And years go by and he remembers the promise of friendship that he had with John. And so when he remembers the promise of friendship with John, then he says, who in John's house is left? So he's saying, I have a promise for whoever is left in John's house. And they say, oh, John had a son, but he's disabled. And so when they go to the house, then he finds this disabled son. And the son says he knows exactly who he is, and he cannot believe that he's come to see him, because who would come to see somebody that's been dropped? Who would come to see somebody to give them something when they can't give it to themselves and they cannot repay them? So he asks him and he says, did you come for me? What are you here for? And so Ken comes and he tells him, I've been looking for you. I've been looking for you because there is a promise. And it is then that he goes in and that he blesses that child who's no longer a child, but he blesses the man that got dropped. And I love this story because how many of us have been dropped by something? How many of us have been dropped by life? How many of us have been dropped by situations? How many of us have been dropped by COVID-19, that we've lost our job? We're underemployed. We're scared to go out. We have to be homeschool teachers. We have all these things, our small businesses we're concerned about. What happens when we're dropped? And sometimes it happens to nothing that we've done. But how do I navigate that? And that's where our responsibility is to know that the promise is still chasing us down. That purpose is still chasing us down. That destiny is still chasing us down. That it's still coming after us, even in our dropped situation, even in our dropped state, even when it feels like I cannot walk, I cannot move, I cannot breathe. That purpose, that promise is still coming after us. And so you may be saying, all right, Portia, so what is it that I need to do? Because girl, I've been dropped before. Let me tell you, I've been dropped by life. I've been dropped by people. All kind of stuff has happened. But But it's so awesome that when this promise showed up to this now adult that had been dropped, that he was ready, that he said, oh, no, I know what that looks like. I know who that is. I know what that person is looking like. And he ends up blessing him. And so there's something that we have a responsibility to do, even when we've been dropped, because the promise doesn't change because we've been dropped. The promise doesn't change because stuff happens, and stuff happens. And so number one, we need to do our strength training. What is strength training? So strength training is designed to work a specific area. It's designed to work a specific area. So a couple years ago, maybe about 7 years ago, I thought that I was still a teenager, and I thought I was still a majorette in high school. And I went to go kick my leg over my husband's head, and I ended up subluxing my patella. So essentially what happened was my kneecap kind of came out dislocated, essentially. And what happened, in order for me to get that back into where it needed to be, I had to do strength training. I was not running. I was not barely walking, but I had to strengthen the muscle that had been hurt. I had to strengthen the area where they had to do surgery so that it could work. A lot of times we try to compensate, but what happens is when you compensate for something that has been broken, the thing that's compensating now starts to feel the pain of the thing that was broken. And so what we need to do is we have to do our strength training. We have to strengthen that muscle. You guys know how we do when there's something that I'm saying that's speaking to you, when it's good to you. Hello, darling. That's what we type in the comments. And so what we need to do is we need that strength training. So whatever it is, we need to strengthen it. So if it's peace that we need, then we need to strengthen that peace muscle, right? We need to start meditating. We need to start praying as it relates to peace. If there's something going on, even in our finances, we need to strengthen that finance muscle. We need to strengthen that muscle by which we were broken or by which we were dropped. And so that's what strength training looked like to me. So I had to strengthen my quads, because my quads being strengthened would strengthen my knee. And so it is an increase of muscle mass. So what happens when I strengthen? I don't just strengthen it to get back to where it is, but I strengthen it to get better than what it is. And so then number two is I need a little cardio. I need a little cardio. Hello, Jasmine, darling. Thank you for joining. I need to do my cardio. Cardio is designed to build endurance. You know how runners get better, how they go faster? They run. Endurance. Endurance is built by me consistently doing the same thing. Right? The same right thing. So first, I need that strengthen. I need to strengthen that muscle. I'm not compensating for why I fail or why I got dropped, because what happens is when I compensate for something that has been dropped or that is hurt, the thing that's compensating for it begins to have its own pain. So we want to strengthen that area. So whatever that area is, you want to strengthen it. So if you say, you know what, I have not been a great leader, then we need to strengthen that muscle. That's the only way you become a better leader. You may be saying, I wasn't a good friend. We need to strengthen that muscle. You may be saying that, you know what, I don't always stick to my goals. I don't always stick to the things that I say I'm going to do. Well, we need to strengthen that muscle because it is designed to work a specific area. So we are not trying to do, we are not trying to strengthen our arms, but our knee is messed up. We need to strengthen that specific area. And then number two, the cardio. Cardio builds endurance. And if you want to ever do anything for a long period of time, if you want to stay in the race longer than just a quick minute, you have to build endurance. So, you know, your girl was a assistant cross country coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. When we were going to school, I assisted the cross country team. Hello, somebody. And you know, the way the runners get better is the way that they run. They have to run. There's no way that you can be a long distance runner if you don't run. And you have to keep up going. So maybe this day I go 5 miles. Maybe this day I go 7 miles. Maybe this day I go 9 miles. I do that by endurance. It is when I'm ready to run the long race, when I'm ready to have an impact for a long time. And that really is what life is. That's what we're building. Whatever it is that we're building, whatever it is our promises, whatever it is our purpose is that oftentimes it takes endurance, that I got to continually do this. I have to have a systematic approach for getting to where I need to get. So what does that look like? What is your systematic approach? So for some of us, our systematic maybe, you know what? Every single day, I'm going to do one thing that moves the needle forward. One thing, all I need to do is move the needle forward. Some days that needle is going to be moved forward for 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet. And then some days it's going to be 1 inch, but you're still moving the needle forward. Hey, Tracy, thank you so much for joining. So you have to move the needle forward and you have to keep on keeping on. You have to keep doing it over and over again. Why? Because then it starts to speak to your mind that this is what you do. And it no longer just becomes something that I got to do this, but it becomes your systematic approach to whatever you're trying to get to. And then number 3, we got to do HIIT training. Some people call it CrossFit, but what it is high intensity interval training. And what this does is that it's designed for you to work for you when you aren't working. What does that mean? It's designed to work for you when you aren't working. The way that high intensity interval training works is that it puts you in where you're working so high and you have these short bursts of rest periods. But what happens after the training is that you're still losing calories even after you've got out the training, right? So you may be thinking, oh, in this one exercise, I burned 500 calories. But what high intensity interval training does is even after you've stopped training, your body has now been a routine. And now it knows, oh, I need to burn even these calories after the training. The thing about high intensity training is because a lot of us can do strength training. A lot of us will go in and we'll lift some weights, we'll get some bands, we'll do what we need to do for that strength training, strengthen that area. And then some of us will do cardio, like we'll go, we can run, we can do all that stuff. We'll build the endurance. But high intensity interval training, this is where a lot of us have an issue. This is where it's hard for a lot of us because they say that what requires this level of intensity is self-motivation. It's self-motivation. And so oftentimes when we're in these situations where we feel like, oh, I've been dropped, oh, nobody was there, it takes you to motivate you. And we don't always teach that. We're like, oh, we'll go to somebody else and get motivated. But sometimes the somebody else isn't there. And so it requires us to do this HIIT training, this high intensity interval training. It's short bursts of intense exercise with short rest periods. And so we want to make sure that we are doing that HIIT training, that we are motivating ourselves, because sometimes there isn't somebody there to motivate you. And that's where HIIT comes in. That's when you know you've reached the level of like, I'm going to do this no matter what. So one, oftentimes we are dropped. Life drops us. Life happens. And so I don't want you to stay there in that life has happened. Like sometime you need some time, you need a rest period to get back in. But once you get back in the game, I want us to go to that strength training. It's designed to work that specific area. So oftentimes we don't want to touch that area, or we're ashamed of that area, or we're scared to strengthen that area for what we could actually do in the world if that one area was strengthened. And so we need to make sure that we are purposeful about strengthening that area. And number 2 is cardio. This is designed for you to go the distance. This is designed to give you that endurance to keep doing what it is that you're called to do, what your purpose is, what your passion is, what your desire is, what the promise is. That's the way that you do it, is that you keep doing it, and you keep doing it when nobody shows up, and you keep doing it when nobody's screaming your name, and you keep doing it when it looks like there's still not money coming in, and you still keep on doing it because you know that this is the thing that you were called to do. And if I keep doing this, I know that purpose is going to show up. I know my promise is going to show up. And number 3, it is high intensity interval training. This is the piece that I can't even imagine being somebody that got dropped and waiting for that promise to show up, waiting for that thing that you've been waiting for to happen. It is those intense bursts of exercise. It is the intensity that I'm going to go after that. It is the intensity that I'm going to do this no matter what they say, no matter who says it, no matter who shows up, no matter who doesn't show up, no matter who likes it, no matter who doesn't. I am still going to do this because I know there is absolutely a promise for me. And it requires me to show up. So you guys, I told you I was going to tell you a quick story and just give us some ways that we can continue to show up in our lives, even when we're dropped, even when we feel like we cannot move because someone, life has dropped us. But that doesn't mean the end. Because if in fact you've been dropped, but you're not dead, then there's a responsibility that we have to show up. There's a responsibility that we have to live intentionally and to not allow life to live for us, even in our drop state. And so when that promise showed up to that now adult, he said, I'm giving you everything. Why? Because you were strengthened. You were still working that muscle. And what is that? Sometimes that muscle is just showing up. It's just showing up and doing it. And then you had that cardio. You went the distance. You could have gave up years and years ago. You could have gave up, but you didn't. And then you had that high intensity interval training is when you had these bursts of times where you had to have this intense exercise, where you had to incorporate strength and cardio together in order to make it. It was that motivation. And that's why I say you never know when your promise is going to show up, but your promise is looking for you and your promise is waiting for you to show up. So I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate you. So one of the things that I would say is, where is that area? And let's be honest, one area, I'm not going to overwhelm you. Just one area where you say, I was dropped. Like the business didn't work out the way I said that I thought. I didn't get the job that I thought I was going to get. My kids over here acting up. This situation isn't going the way it was supposed to. I wrote down my plans and my goals, Portia, like you told me to do, and I was moving one step forward and then one step backwards. That one thing. Where is the one area where you were dropped? But you know what? Even in that dropping, the promise, the purpose, the destiny, the future is still looking for you. It is looking for you. And so write that down. And then how are you going to strengthen yourself in that area? How are you going to have your endurance? What is one thing you're going to do to strengthen yourself each and every day? What is one day that you're going to do that's going to be your systematic approach to healing in that area, to getting back up, to doing it again? And then what is going to be that motivation? What is going to be the thing that motivates you? Because sometimes you have these large bursts of periods where you have intensity in your life. And so how are you going to motivate yourself through that? So strength, cardio, and HIIT training. So you guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for always being engaged. You guys are absolutely amazing. I want to put this back up again because if you are enjoying this content, you can share this broadcast, but you can also listen to the other daily shows that we've had. And you can text the phrase wake up to 31996. That's wake up to 31996 so that you're aware when we go live. We go live each and every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Yes, Tracy said a systematic approach is key. Absolutely. It's doing and doing and doing. Over and over again. That's how you build those habits. That's how you build those behaviors. Yes. Marty said, yes, thank you so much. Jasmine, I worked out early in the morning after working till 1 a.m. Then coming home to outline, motivated. Yes. I love it. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining as always. I appreciate you guys being here. And you guys know on Sundays, we always have our weekly COVID-19 update. One of the beautiful things that we have now is that we're giving you the medical side, but we're also giving you the mental side. And so we're talking about what are some of those treatments? What are these things looking like? Not from me, because I'm not a medical doctor, but we actually have a medical doctor that comes on every single week to give us that information, to answer your questions. And we've also incorporated a mental health part to this as well, because as we understand the medical piece, the mental health piece is so important. And so Marty Sellers is actually on here, and he is going to be on there Sunday as well, answering your questions around mental health. And so we want you guys to join us right here, right where you are. You can join us every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys, I appreciate you. We end every single show with this declaration. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today, we will show up. I'll see you guys Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.